a thriving settlement of over 100 souls vanished into the thick coastal fog, leaving behind nothing but a single haunting word carved into a wooden post. What could drive an entire community to discard their past and step into the unknown? Nova, After Dark. You stand on the wind-swept shores of North Carolina, feeling the weight of 4 centuries of silence pressing against your skin. Today, you are walking through the history of a colonial dream that turned into a chilling, permanent mystery. Let us piece together the final days of the Roanoke settlers. The year is 1587. A wooden fleet cuts through the dark, churning Atlantic waves toward the untamed edge of the New World. 115 settlers stand on the deck, their faces gaunt, their eyes wide with the weight of expectation. They are leaving everything behind. England is a memory now. Ahead lies Roanoke Island, a sliver of land cloaked in dense, suffocating forest. They arrive in the heat of midsummer, the air thick with the scent of pine and salt. Governor John White leads them, a man tasked with the impossible dream of a permanent English foothold. The soldiers see only opportunity, but the families see fear. They begin to clear the land immediately, their axes biting deep into the ancient trees. Cabins rise from the red earth like ghosts in the morning mist. Hope is a fragile thing here. Supplies are already running low, and the whispers of the indigenous tribes create an unsettling hum in the background. The settlers do not know that they have walked into a trap of their own making. The wilderness watches them. Every shadow in the trees feels like an appraisal. They believe they are building a home, but they are constructing a graveyard. The foundations are laid in soil that refuses to be tamed. Winter is approaching, and the isolation is beginning to set in. They are alone, surrounded by an ocean that swallows ships and a forest that swallows secrets. They do not know it yet, but their names are already beginning to fade from history. This was their first step into the void. Disaster looms over the colony like a gathering storm. John White realizes the settlers are on the brink of starvation. He is their only lifeline. With a heavy heart, he prepares to return to England to fetch the critical supplies they desperately need. The farewells are agonizingly silent. Mothers hold their children tight, knowing the ocean is a cruel master. White promises he will return before the winter frost sets in. He boards his ship, looking back at the tiny, fragile outpost shrinking into the horizon. He cannot know that global conflict is erupting back home. War with the Spanish Armada has paralyzed the English fleet. Ships are being conscripted for battle, and the ports are locked down in a frenzy of survival. White is trapped. He paces the deck in London, staring at a map, his mind anchored to a place thousands of miles away. Every delay is a hammer blow to his conscience. His family is there, waiting in the silence. He imagines them huddled by the hearth, watching the waves for a sail that refuses to appear. He pleads with the authorities, but his voice is drowned out by the drums of war. The delay, initially planned for months, stretches into a year, then 2. The agony of waiting is a slow rot. He is a man caught between 2 worlds, powerless to bridge the distance. The tragedy of the Roanoke colony is written in the time lost. His heart breaks with every sunrise he spends on English soil. He is a ghost of a leader, tethered to a fading memory. Years bleed into one another. The war with Spain rages, consuming every English resource and every capable ship. John White is finally granted passage back to the New World, but the journey is fraught with obstacles. It has been 3 years since he last saw his daughter and his granddaughter, Virginia Dare. His pulse races as the coastline of Roanoke finally crests the horizon. He expects to see smoke from the chimneys. He expects to hear the sounds of life, the tolling of a bell, or the cries of children. But there is only an unnatural, oppressive quiet. The sky is grey, reflecting the dread settling in his gut. He signals the shore, but no one answers. He stares through his spyglass, searching for any sign of movement, any patch of laundry drying, any cattle grazing. Nothing. The stillness is absolute. It is the kind of silence that screams. He orders the longboats lowered into the freezing water. His men are apprehensive, their hands resting on the hilts of their swords. They row toward the land that holds their families. Every stroke of the oar brings them closer to a truth they are not ready to confront. The air feels heavy, stagnant. As they beach the boats, the silence of the island begins to vibrate in their ears. It is a place frozen in time. The colony looks abandoned, yet there are no bodies, no signs of a struggle. The emptiness is clean, clinical, and terrifying. They are standing on the threshold of an eternal mystery. The village is a skeleton of what it once was. John White walks through the overgrown paths, his boots crunching on dead leaves. The cabins are stripped bare, yet they remain standing as if they were waiting for someone to return. There are no signs of battle, no broken furniture, no blood-stained earth, no scorched ruins. It is as if the inhabitants simply evaporated into the thin coastal air. He finds his personal trunk, buried and damaged, his books rotted by the damp. The personal items of the settlers are scattered, discarded, or gone. He calls out their names, his voice cracking against the unyielding trees, but the woods only return a hollow echo. His men search the perimeter with frantic intensity, hoping to find a hidden cache or a secret cellar. They find nothing. The vegetation has begun to reclaim the site, wrapping vines around the wooden beams like a burial shroud. It is a ghost town that never saw a funeral. The psychological weight of the discovery is suffocating. How does an entire settlement vanish without a trace? Where are the dead if they did not survive? The lack of violence is the most terrifying part of all. It suggests a departure that was either forced or planned but executed with a chilling surgical precision. The island has become a giant, silent puzzle. White feels the earth beneath him shifting, his grip on reality wavering. He stands in the center of the village, a man surrounded by the ghosts of his own ambition. The mystery has only just begun to coil around him. Just as despair threatens to consume him, White finds it. Carved deep into the wood of a defensive palisade post is a single word: Croatoan. It is bold, deliberate, and cryptic. He moves to the trees nearby, finding another inscription: C-R-O. It is a message, but it feels like a taunt from the wilderness. The Croatoan were a local tribe, neither allies nor sworn enemies, but a people of the land. Does this word mark a destination, a warning, or a betrayal? White's mind races through every interaction he had with the local chieftains. He remembers the tension, the trade deals, the misunderstandings. He interprets the carving as a beacon of hope. The settlers had moved to Croatoan Island, safe and secure, but he cannot find them. A storm rolls in, violent and unforgiving, forcing him back to his ship before he can follow the trail. The wind howls, tearing at the sails as if to keep him from the truth. He screams at the shore as they pull away, his fingers clutching the railing until his knuckles turn white. He never makes it to the location of the tribe. The word remains, an ink blot on the pages of history. Was it a code, a map, or the final act of a desperate people? Years later, the mystery only deepens. The name Croatoan haunts every search, every expedition, every historian who dares to look closer. It is the only physical evidence that the colony did not just end. It shifted, it transformed, it vanished into the unknown depths of a continent that refused to be known. The silence remains absolute. Science offers a grounded lens through which we might view the catastrophe at Roanoke. Dendrochronology, the study of tree rings, tells a tale written in wood. Researchers extracted samples from ancient bald cypress trees near the site. They reveal a chilling reality. The years between 1587 and 1589 marked the most severe drought in 7 centuries. Rainfall became a memory, replaced by parched, cracked earth. The settlers faced a biological wall they could not climb. Their corn crops withered into dust before reaching maturity. Hunger is a silent, creeping predator that dismantles morale with brutal efficiency. Even the local wells would have turned saline as groundwater shifted. They were trapped in a cycle of starvation and dehydration. This wasn't just a failure of supply, it was a climatic siege. Nature itself seemed to conspire against the English venture. The colonists were foreigners in a land that was physically rejecting their presence. Perhaps they didn't vanish by choice. Perhaps they perished in the heat of a landscape turned hostile. We must consider that the environment did what human adversaries could not. It erased the resource base required for civilization to hold. Without water, the soul of a settlement dies before the bodies even weaken. It is a bleak clinical answer to a riddle that has haunted history for hundreds of years. The drought created a desperation that defies simple explanation. It transformed the vibrant dream of New England into a crucible of suffering. Every tree ring stands as a silent wooden testament to their struggle. They lived at the whim of the clouds, and the clouds refused to yield. If the environment pushed them out, where did they go? The answer might lie in the word carved into the wooden post. Assimilation into the local tribes is the most logical path for survival. The Croatoan people were experienced in surviving the island's harsh rhythms. They possessed the agricultural knowledge the English so desperately lacked. It is entirely possible that the colonists offered their metal tools and woven fabrics in exchange for sustenance. Over months, this partnership could have deepened into total integration. Some historians point to reports of grey-eyed children seen among local tribes generations later. These anecdotes, while unverified, ripple through the centuries like a haunting echo. Consider the possibility of a slow, quiet transformation. The settlers didn't die, they simply stopped being English. They shed their European identities to adopt the survivalist ways of the indigenous population. They became hunters, gatherers, and part of the complex tribal web. This was not a surrender, but an evolution. They chose life in a new culture over death, in the ruins of their own failure. Families may have been split or absorbed into different clans across the mainland. The identity of Roanoke didn't vanish into thin air. It was woven into the fabric of the people who were already there. To disappear is to be found by another. It changes the narrative from one of ghost stories to one of human endurance and flexibility. The mystery is less about what killed them and more about how they changed to endure. They left their names behind, perhaps choosing the anonymity of a new life over the grim certainty of a lonely grave. Roanoke stands as the ultimate American mystery, a shadow lingering on the edge of history. It serves as a grim reminder that civilization is a fragile construct. We look back and see a ghost story, but the reality was likely far more human. It is the story of people caught between two worlds, struggling to survive against the indifferent forces of geography and time. Their names are recorded in the annals of history, yet they remain unreachable. They occupy a strange space in the collective consciousness of a nation. We keep digging, keep mapping, and keep wondering because we hate the idea of a loose thread. The site itself remains a quiet, protected patch of North Carolina soil. It is a place of pilgrimage for those who want to feel the weight of what was lost. The legacy of Roanoke is found in our obsession with the unexplained. It forces us to confront our own fragility and the gaps in our recorded past. Maybe the truth is better left buried beneath the pine needles and history. If we solved it, we would lose the myth. And the myth is what sustains the fascination of the lost. They didn't just disappear, they became part of the landscape. Their absence speaks louder than any colonial records ever could. They remain a permanent question mark at the very beginning of the English experience in the New World. As the wind blows through the trees of Roanoke Island, it carries the weight of 1,000 unanswered questions. We are still listening for their voices, waiting for the silence to finally break. But perhaps silence is their only remaining truth. The mystery of the lost colony continues to haunt our history, forcing us to ask if these people were victims of violence or if they chose a desperate path to assimilation. Do you believe they were absorbed by nearby tribes, or did a more sinister fate find them in the wilderness? Tell us your theories in the comments below. Hit that subscribe button to join our community and stay curious until our next session of Nova After Dark.